Hello everyone, welcome back to TDO, and today we're gonna be carrying on with our curves. So without wasting any time, let's get on to it. So today we're gonna be dealing with circles. As you can see the diagram on the screen right now, you are given this as a question. A question can come like this or it can come in any other form. The information that you see here is the information that will always be given to you. In any case whereby you are required to reproduce something, they're gonna give you these kind of information or the diameters for the circles and the distance between the center lines. As you can see, the distance between our center lines it's 90. Let's go right on and recreate the structure. You draw the center lines first with the given dimension. Make sure that you keep the required distance apart between the center lines. So what I mean by that is that you create a skeleton of the drawing before you come up with an actual drawing. You create the skeleton for it. That's always the case when you are dealing with engineering drawing. You create the skeleton for the drawing, you create the structure, and then you come out with the actual structure in the sense of outlining. Before we carry on to the lesson, it is my greatest pleasure to let you know that I've done some research and came up with something specially made for you, which is engineering drawing course for beginners. So if you are interested, there is a link in the description. You can just click it there, which is gonna take you to this page right here. We start from the very basic of engineering drawing, such as reproduction drawing. It's also broken down into pieces, so we're not rushing anywhere, just being fed the knowledge a bit by bit until you get the hang of it. So it's from the very basic all the way up to the more advanced stuff, and then going to the isometric, it's also broken down to pieces. We start by the isometric positioning. We start by explaining that first, and then we jump to the isometric drawing itself, isometric circles after, and then at the end is iso polygons. So these are all the tools that you will ever need in order for you to understand engineering drawing. So if you are interested, you come back to this page after clicking the link in the description. You scroll down to the very end, and then there are packages right there. There is a membership option, and then there is a once-off option right there. So in a membership option, you can pay on the monthly basis and get access to all the curriculum right there. And then on the once-off payment option, you just pay only once, you get the full access forever. It will be up to you to choose the option that you're gonna be comfortable with, but all in all, I would pretty much appreciate your support. Alright, that's it. Now let's go back to the lesson. You start by creating the first center line. Without measuring anything, you just create the center line. You measure the distance apart. So now let's go on and check our distance. The distance is 90 millimeters apart. So since the distance is 90 millimeters apart, it means we're gonna have to measure 90 millimeters from this point to your next center point. It should be 90 millimeters. So let's just go right on and measure that 90 millimeters to the next point. It should be 90 millimeters. All right, let me zoom into this point now. This is our first center line. The second center line. This is our first center line. The second center line was measured to be there on that new point right there. So now you go on and draw the new center line, which is the second center line, by the way. You create it. So now we have two centers. We have that center right there, and then we have this center right here. And then now the next thing that you do, you draw your circles. You go back to the question and confirm the diameters for the circles. The circles are given to be 50 millimeters in diameter. 50, 50 each. Both of them, they are 50. So you come right back, you create your circles. They should be 50, both of them. Well, moving on. The next thing that you do, you go back to your question. Now you start paying attention to your curves, both of your curves. We have the top curve right there, and we have the bottom curve right there. So it's up to you. So you choose which curve you're gonna start with. So let's start with the top one, because you can clearly see that the radiuses of the curves are not equal. The top curve is in radius 40. The bottom curve is in radius 60 units. So let's start with the top curve. given that the radius is 40 millimeters. So now what you do, you apply the very same steps as if you are joining the straight lines. You're going to have to create the parallels of the circles, and then you're going to have to create the perpendiculars of the circles, as I'll be showing you how to do that just now. So the first thing that you do, you take your radius 40. There's this point here, right at the top of your circle. All right. The first thing you do, after after marking that point, you're gonna have to mark a second point along the vertical center line or along the horizontal center line. You can use either of your centers. So since our curve is in this side, is in the top side, we're gonna have to use our nearest center lines. All right. Now you take your ruler, you measure 40 units along this center. You come to this side, you measure another 40 units along the center. The next step that you do is you create the parallels. So the parallels of the circle, now they're gonna be a curve or an arc. So in order for you to create the parallel of the circle, you take your compass, you place it right at the center line of the circle. You open it up to your 40 millimeter radius point that you created there. You do an arc like that. Same thing applies on the right hand side. You make another arc like this. The intersection point of your arcs, this point right there, that is your intersection point of your arcs. Since that is an intersection point of your arcs, it means that you have to draw your perpendiculars exactly from that point, just like we were doing when we were joining the straight lines. The next thing that you have to do, you take your ruler, you place it from the point to the center line, exactly from the center line to the point. You draw your perpendicular. This is how you draw your perpendicular of the circle. You do the very same thing for the other circle, from the intersection point to the center line of the circle. You make another perpendicular. We have parallels and we have perpendiculars. Now the next thing that you do, you place your compass on the point of intersection there. You open it up to the edge whereby your perpendicular, you open it up to the edge whereby your perpendicular crosses with the circle. You draw a arc that is gonna go over and touch on the very same point, on the very similar point on the other circle. So as you draw this arc, it should go over and touch on the other similar point. Right there. Exactly like that. Alright, now let's go over and project the other arc for the bottom side. Now, the question says that the bottom arc is 60. The radius for the bottom arc is 60 millimeters. So what you do, you're gonna measure 60 from the edge of your circle. The next thing you do, you create your parallels. You take your compass, you place it at the center point of the circle up to your newly created point. You make an arc. Same thing applies on the opposite circle. Compass to the center line, open it up to your newly created point, and you create the point of intersection right there. And then from your point of intersection, you draw two lines which are going to be perpendicular to the left hand circle and to the right hand circle, whereby the lines they start from the point of intersection all the way to the center point of your circle. And then you have your 2 points of intersection whereby your perpendicular crosses with the circle. You pull back your compass, you place it there, you open it up to the intersection. You make another arc, it touches to the similar point on the other side, which means everything was done accurately and correct. And now this is how you join two circles with an arc. Now pay attention to this because a lot of people make this mistake. When you are measuring your radius from the edge of your circle to the point whereby you'll mark your radius, whereby in this case our radius was 60. So if you measure your 60, you measure it from the edge of your circle to the point. Now, do not make the mistake of transferring the very same point up to the next center line. You should also come to the circle and remeasure the 60 millimeter radius from the edge of that circle to where it's going to be marked. Because the reason why I'm saying this is because there is a case whereby you are given unequal circles. In this case, the circles were both 50 in diameter. Let's say the circle was less than 50 in diameter, like that. So if the circle was less than 50 in diameter, it means you are going to measure your 60 millimeter radius from the edge of that circle. From there up to whereby your 60 was going to be marked, which means our 60 was going to be somewhere there. So you recreate everything that you do independently for both circles. Each circle, you should redo whatever that you did on the other circle. You shouldn't transfer points from the other circle to the other circle. In order for you to be safe, recreate everything for each circle so that you can be safe. If the circles are equal, you can transfer the points like that. But if the circles are not equal, make sure that you redo everything independently for each circle. This was the last part of the reproduction drawing. We've already covered the ellipse part, we've covered the polygon part, and we've covered the curves part. So now you can be able to do the reproduction drawing. Everything that they throw at you, you should be able to do it. So now what you do is to go over and practice these things over and over again until you can do it in less than 5 minutes. Because remember, you have to be fast when you're doing these things because there will be plenty of other more questions to answer.